Welcome, everybody. That was literally the easiest thing I have ever done. Uh, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'm about 100% sure that you can. Let me know in the chat. But I am definitely going to be using StreamYard from here on out. This is awesome. If it's working, anyways, it seems to be working. Let me know in the chat right quick, everybody, if this is working. You can hear me because I know we're live. Okay, Scott says we can hear you. This is awesome. I love this. This is so much better, I think, than OBS. I like the way it's set up. I like the way the screen share is. We can invite people. Awesome. Brother Pete's in the chat. Sister Molly, Scott, Crystal. Hopefully everybody else comes back in that was here earlier. I know I have testing on this. I don't know if I can go back later and change the title to Jubilees Part 3 or whatever. But tonight, that is what we're studying, the Jubilees. I just tested the screen share to see if it worked without being live. And I know the screen share and everything's working. And my computer seems to be loading this very easily. For some reason, it did not want to load OBS. Don't know why, but I'm glad that I finally went with this. I didn't even have to download it or nothing. Just sign your email into it, link your YouTube channel, and it automatically starts working like that. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. This is what we're going to start using. And I don't have to go anywhere to see the chat because my channel is already linked to this app or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's already working, Scott. I don't even have to check it. I just did a minute ago. It probably needs an update. You're probably right. I haven't updated it in a while, Sister Molly. I know OBS is a very good tool to use. I don't know, but I'm just glad we got through that. But anyways, guys, what I was saying is, let me go ahead and put this in the comment since we got rudely interrupted, which I'm glad it did happen because I like using this. It seems like it's going to be pretty easy because I'm going to start doing streams with more people besides me because we're going to do some studying on some different subjects. Me and Pete's done talked about it. And possibly Scott's going to start coming on with me sometimes. And if anybody else wants to come on, you're more than welcome to come on and share your point of view or anything like that. This channel, you don't have to just stay in the chat room. If you feel led to say something, come on, come in. And of course, I know if you're a troll or not. So, that won't happen for a second. You can believe that. But I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. And what I was saying earlier is I want everybody that's doing this studying with us and participating and being a fellowship to oh yes, Molly, I know. You're so right though, but I get a pretty good idea about who somebody is pretty quick. Wow, I don't know if they're still moderators or not, though. I'm sure there is. It just looks different from mine. How you doing, Brother Terry? Wow, my battery's running low also. I got to plug my laptop in, guys. It's no big deal, though. It's just right here. This right here. Okay, there we go. It'd been bad to have a dead battery. Okay. I'm doing pretty good, Terry. Other than all the, worldly problems, just regular stuff's going to happen. All of us have to go through things, car trouble and different things like that. Okay, good deal, Molly. That's good. Yeah, it shows a different chat for me. It's just going to take me a second to get used to it, but I like it already. I can tell you that. But anyways, about the email I put in the chat, please, if you don't have Google Hangouts, if you don't want to do it, don't worry about it. But, I want to start a group chat. That way you can wake up all through the day. I mean, you can participate all through the day, any day. through the night. I want to get a good group chat going in the Google Hangouts, and that way we can be we can be as close as an assembly as possible without being in flesh, in person. And I think that's important. I really do. That way we can be there for each other through anything that happens, right? So if you're interested in doing that, please download Google Hangouts, whether it be on your phone, laptop, whatever, and use that email to send me a Google to add. Just add me on Hangout. I can't talk tonight. Add me on Hangouts, and then I'm going to make a group chat. Then I'll invite you in the group chat, and hopefully we get everybody from here in there and start fellowshipping like that. So be awesome. And I need to. Okay, so before we start studying Jubilees, I don't know how far we're going to get. Because we've already wasted so much time with all this interruption and stuff. But I got a couple things I want to go over tonight. First off, so let me start a screen share, everybody. Let me start a screen share. Now there's that. I like how it keeps the camera on there, which I can remove from the screen if I want to. This is pretty cool. I like this. I should have done it a long time ago. And you can also adjust the screen which way you want it. Oh, awesome. And you can also, yeah, this is very cool. I like this. I really do. Yeah, see, I can do that. Here we go. Let me go through these. Okay. Now there's the screen share, the full screen. Now I want everybody, if you can, to please try to pay attention for a couple minutes while I show you this. This might blow you away, what you're about to see, if you've never seen this before, anyways. So let me go in here. Now, what I want to do is, and I hope I can explain this in a very easy understanding way as possible. Now, what you see all the time, a lot of people say King James only. There's literally whole religion denominations that's built off the King James Bible. They're King James onlyness, which I used to be myself. And you'll hear people say all the time, which we've talked about on this channel a lot, is how people only will read the King James Version because they literally believe it's the true word of God, true word of Elohim. And they almost worship the King James, this translation. And like I've said before, I want to make it clear again while we're talking about this, is that the reason the King James is a good translation, or I should say would have been a good translation, which we can study because it's probably one of the only things that you have to study, right? Of course, we always use criticism when we study and compare because we don't have anything original. But the reason it is a good translation is because it's translated from the Textus Receptus, which the Textus Receptus was translated from Erasmus from early on, right? And then you get other Bibles before, like the Tyndale Bible and all that, before King James, 1611. And then you have what we have now, right? It just keeps on going. Then and all the NIV and all the NLT and all these other translations, a lot of them are translated from Textus Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, which are complete garbage. That's why people choose to read the King James, which I can understand that. But the thing is let me show you something right here, just since we're on this already. Acts 12:4, very famous verse. People understand it because it's the only time that we see the word Easter, right, in the King James. And we see that there's no such thing Easter besides in paganism. Pagans worship Ishtar, Isis. You know, it goes all the way back to Tammuz worship and Isis and Ishtar. Many names, different languages. That's what Easter is, Ishtar. But you see, you take this, Acts 12:4. This is why I love the e-sword, because it's such a powerful tool. Whether they design it to be that way or not, that's the way we use it and can use it. So we see Easter right here, and you can go to literally any other translation, which I don't have any false translations on here. But I mean, you can go to the let me go to the ISR, and literally says Passover. You'll go to any other translation and it says Passover because that's what it is, right? It's always been Passover. There's never been anything called Easter. But this is just one example that I'm going to show right quick. So let's go back to King James Plus, right, with the concordance. And we see where it says Easter right here. And it says Pesach, right, meaning Passover. So even there in their own concordance is admitting it, that it's Passover, the meal, the day, the festival, right, the Passover, which today is nothing but about sex and fertility, right? That's why they have a big Easter bunny. Has nothing to do with our Messiah and what he fulfilled. It's a complete paganism. But this is, you guys probably already knew all this stuff, right? I'm preaching to the choir right now. So let's go to the Greek. Remember what I told you, that the New Testament was written in Greek, and the Textus Receptus is one of the original Greek manuscripts that we have that the King James translated from. So that's what we can go. But a lot of people doesn't know how to read Greek, so that's a problem. So we have to rely on these translations. So, having said all that, I hope it made it clear. So let's go to the Greek New Testament, Textus Receptus Plus, just like we've seen the King James Plus, right? So when you go to that, what you're going to see in the Greek, as soon as I find it, because I do not know how to read Greek. I have a friend who does know how to read Greek to an extent. But look, on the screen there, what you see is Pesach, just like it said in the King James Concordance. And it means Passover. Passover. So that's how we know in the Greek that that's what it intended to be. But we have been under heavy indoctrination and false doctrine, paganism. And this is just the start. I wanted to show you an idea of what I'm trying to show you. This is the original, the closest that we have to the original, the early. What they're written in was the Greek, right? Now, okay, just looking at the chat. I wanted to set it up to show you guys what I'm trying to do here, what I'm trying to show everybody. This is the most original form that we have is in the Greek Textus Receptus. It's the purest form we have, and this shows us what it's supposed to say. So let's go to a couple other. I want to show you a couple other examples right quick. Now everybody knows Matthew 28. Everybody knows Mark 16, or I hope you do anyway. Now, like I said, you know, I read all the way from Genesis to Revelation, and I said after that, guys, we are going to start doing some deep studying. That is what I meant by this. This is just a little taste of what we're going to start doing on this channel, because I want to expose the evil. I want to expose them, rebuke them. I want to show people the truth. That's what the whole point of this is. So let's go to Mark 16. Now, this is known as the resurrection chapter. First, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, let's go to King James Version, and I want to show everybody what I'm talking about. The resurrection chapter, this is, you know, of course, everybody knows when the Messiah was resurrected. I'm talking about when he was not in the tomb anymore, and Mary Magdalene came to check on him and noticed that he wasn't there. So Mark 16, which goes along with Matthew 28, okay? let's read this right quick. And when the Sabbath was passed, okay, this is what the King James says already. When the Sabbath was passed, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome had bought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. And very early in the morning of the first day of the week. Okay, so this is where Christianity and these people who go to church on Sunday, this is their excuse for going to church on Sunday. Now, Pete, please, in the chat room, help me out in here. Help me explain this if you can, brother. Me and Pete was the ones who studied this together, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about in the chat. And help me out. So we see Mark 16 here, and this is the reason that Christianity uses that excuse of this is why we don't keep the Sabbath anymore, because they say, well, Jesus, we know him as Yahushua, right? And I'm about to show you something on that also. But I know a lot of people is not going to want to hear this, but here it is, I don't get on to people for saying Jesus. I really don't, guys. My main deal is I'm not a judge. I'm not the judge anyway, right? I'm not the judge of your salvation, not trying to be. But what I am trying to say is that I'm not going to get on to people trying to learn and trying to fellowship with me when they say Jesus. My main deal is I'm more worried about is, do you know the true Messiah? Not matter what you're calling him, which names do matter. I'm a person who believes that names do matter. Excuse me, do matter. And I can show you in scripture where he actually says it does matter. But yes, it's all about pagan Sunday worshiping. Yes, it's all about pagan sun worship. It's always literally look it up. And I mean, Rome has always never denied that. I mean, they flaunt it, right? But anyways, what I'm trying to say, make a long story short, is it's do you know the true Messiah, right? I've seen people calling, many different things. The way I have learned it is to be Yahusha, the only begotten Son, the righteous one, the one of no sin, the anointed one, Yahushua HaMashiach, our high priest, our intercession. But now get to the point of this is, see right here, Mark 16, King James. Everybody says this is the closest version that we have, right? The true word, not closest, but they say this is the true word. Send this to a King James onlyist, by the way. Show them this. So we see right here, Mark 16:2, and very early in the morning of the first day of the week, which is Sunday. So they say that Jesus, Yahusha, was resurrected on Sunday. So that's why we go to church on Sunday, which we know the whole idea of church is really just an assembly. It's an assembly. You can have that at your house, which the early apostles did. Look, just read in the book of Acts. They assembled at their houses. There's nothing wrong with having an assembly on the in the town or anything like that. But this whole idea about the church age and stuff, that's all Catholic dogma. It's all Catholic dogma. That's not the way. That's not the path. That's just straight indoctrination. So what I'm going to show you is right here. You go to Mark 16:2. See how it's highlighted? It says right here, first day of the week. So they're trying to say that Jesus, Yahushua, was resurrected on the first day of the week. But you go to what they translated from, the Greek New Testament, which we know is the Brit Hadashah, right? The renewed covenant. Textus Receptus, like we just looked at a minute ago. Now you look at this, and what you see, I wish we could read the Greek, but we can't. What we see is Sabbaton, right? Got together and ate and such. Yeah, exactly. And you can literally see how they translated that differently too, Calvin. So look what I'm saying here, everybody. And then we're going to start studying Jubilee right quick. I just wanted to make my point. I want to show you guys how such a heavy indoctrination that we have been under. Okay, what a deception that we've been under. Look, literally says one. This means one. This Greek word right here, G1520, of. So literally what it's breaking down to is it literally says one of the Sabbaths. Okay. He was resurrected. Look, this is the resurrection passage like we just read in King James, but the Greek word is Sabbaton. Okay. The Sabbath. It never says the first day of the week in this passage. It is not here. Amen. It is not here. It does not say the first day of the week ever. They openly deceived us. So next time you go to read the King James Version, you need to understand what you are reading. Okay? And you need to understand what you are saying when you say that is the pure word, because it is not. It is heresy. And I will stand up in front of anybody and say that. And that will get you kicked out and shunned in a lot of places. Trust me. But the thing is we don't need to fellowship with people like that anyway, because a lot of these people know, right? They're running cults, literally. They are running cults. That's why they don't want you to have your own personal Bible studies. They want you to make sure that a preacher is always there, or some kind of elder from that church is always there when you're doing a Bible study, so they can keep you indoctrinated. And that is very bad on their part. I can't speak for every church, but I'm telling you guys, these people are indoctrinated by religion. It is all man-made religion. It is Protestant Christianity spun off from the Catholic Church. It's what it all comes down to. Protestant Christianity. That's why I say all the time, I am not a Christian. I am not religious. Christianity, that's all it is. It's religion. It's confusion. Why do you think people, when you first repent, right, and you want to be a follower of the Messiah, the Most High, of the truth, you don't know if you should become you don't know if you should go to a Pentecostal church, a Catholic church, a Baptist church, a Seventh-day Adventist church. That is confusion. Satan is the author of confusion. He tells us that there's only one way, one path, just to repent of our sin and be immersed. And then from that point on, keep his commandments. Amen. Twistianity. Nailed it, Grace, every time. Amen. Amen, Crystal. Yes, me too. I seriously do. That we are called and set apart from all that circus, bread and show. It's just religion. Anyways, I wanted to show you guys that. And let me show you one more thing, and then we'll start reading. Now, I really need to focus a whole study on this, because this will knock your socks off. And a lot of people are probably not even ready to hear this. So you got Revelation 13, the mark of the beast, right, chapter, where it talks about the beast. Right, we just read Revelation on this channel, right? And so this should be still fresh in your mind. Now, let me show you this for all those who are listening. What John says right here in Revelation 13, verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man. The reason it says it is a number of a man is because we just read in Jubilee and Genesis, right, that that man was created on the sixth day. That's why the number of man is 6. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. But you see in Revelation that it also says that Yah's people, the Most High's people, will be marked in their forehead with the name of Yah. So it doesn't say that they're marked with a number. It says there's an image and a name, right? An image and a name. So what John had written this down on, what John spoke was Greek. What he knew how to write in was Greek. He did not speak English whatsoever. So we go to the Textus Receptus. And I mean, this should be very simple. I mean, it's not rocket science. You go to the Texas Receptus, what the King James translated from, and you see this right here. This does not say 666, but it's a numerical letter. And what it says is Chi Xi Stigma. Chi Xi Stigma. And I know this is probably a lot for some of you who have studied this. So it's not a number right here. The mark of the beast is not a number. It is a name. It is a name. And literally when you sound this out, well, first off, when you see this symbol on this Chi Xi Stigma is on the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Jesuit. They have this picture of Jesus Christ. Let me show you something right quick, everybody. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Remember this right here, though. Chi Xi Stigma, okay? And let me show you something right fast. Well, we can meet any day, Calvin, but the point is that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath. We are commanded to do that. That's the fourth commandment, to remember the Sabbath and to keep it holy. He sanctified it. It is a symbol. So anyways, let me show you something real quick. Let me put it on my face, the screen. Now, remember what I just said about the Chi Xi Stigma. Now, look at this picture right here, okay? Where's it at? Sorry if the light is right in it. I know that light's bothering it. This is not our Messiah, okay? This is an image. This is an image, an idol. I know that light's right in it. I apologize. This is an image, an idol, and this is not our Messiah whatsoever. This is what we've been trained to taught, and this is what we've been trained to accept. But no, this is just like that mark. Just like okay, you go to any Sunday church, not any, but you go to most of these Sunday churches. Most of them, they're nothing but indoctrinated, teaching false doctrine, teaching lawlessness, and that's why he calls the anti-Messiah the lawless one. And it's why Revelation talks about, that we'll be rewarded for keeping the commandments. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and the remnant of the seed that kept the commandments and had the testimony. So this is the mark, okay? And I mean, that's what the conclusion I've come to is if you're following lawlessness, you're in the beast system, you have the mark of the beast. So come out of her, my people. Just like it says in Revelation. Come out of her, my people. Come out of Babylon. Don't be partakers of her sin. I don't know if that even made sense to a lot of people, because you have to be ready to accept that, right? I mean, if you're still indoctrinated with nothing but lies, then you're not going to accept that. And I just pray, that you do, that you can see what I'm talking. There you go, seeking the kingdom. Exactly. Caesar Begoria. Yeah, that you nailed it. That's exactly right. But it's lawlessness, right? They all teach us that in Colossians it says that he done away with the law, he nailed it to the cross. That's baloney. He nailed nothing of the sort to the cross. He did not nail his Father's instructions to the cross, which makes no sense. All of a sudden, the law was to keep us out of bondage, and then next thing we know, it is bondage. These people are crazy, right? These people are insane. And they always call it like, the old Mosaic law, and we're under the law of grace now. Makes no sense. Calvin E., the fruit of the Spirit, very simple, Galatians chapter 5, to study that, right, in context. Meekness, being humble, love. Galatians 5, though. Exactly, Sister Heather. Nailed it. You just nailed it. This is why he said no graven images. And people, well, they're like, well, that's done away with. You know, we can have graven images now. Or they'll say, that's not a graven image. You walk into the sanctuary today of any church, and all you see is Christmas trees. They celebrate Halloween. They're celebrating Easter, Ishtar. It's all paganism, and they just defiled their whole sanctuary. And first off, he tells us in Acts that he does not dwell in temples made with hands, in sanctuaries made with hands, right? Tabernacles made with hands. He doesn't dwell in. What part of that don't they understand, right? We got to come out of that stuff. We got to come out of all that deception. So, anyways, guys, I wanted to show you that because that's been burning on me for a minute to show you everybody that. Because mainly I don't want you all caught up in it, right? And I remember when I first learned it, it blew me away, and it took me a while to accept it and to study it out. But there you go, Pete. Yeah. So let's go ahead and there you go, Scott. Exactly. Yeah, it's all idolatry. It's all it's a direct. It's like putting a middle finger straight up to the Most High. It really is. It's like, yeah, you gave us your commandments, but we have a better way of doing it. And he also, I mean, how many times he got to tell us, that there's a way that seems right unto a man. The ends thereof is death. Let us not lean on our own understanding, but His and what He calls evil, and that's why He gave us instructions to follow. I mean, it should be simple to us. But we want to keep on watching TV. We want to keep on listening to these sold out preachers who just preaching just straight up. I mean, if you read the scripture, they're directly. It's like the opposite of what the scripture says, and it's like nobody. They're packed out. They have stages just packed out. Big venues. These big ball fields of just nothing but people. They're praising lawlessness. He tells us it's a narrow path, there'll be few that find it. And for some reason, people think 41,000 denominations. I mean, come on, man. It's not that. It's not that. Common sense is not simple anymore. It's out the window, and that's 100% accurate. Yeah, come on. There's people out here. There's girls who don't know if they're boys. There's boys who don't know if they're girls. There's men saying they're having periods. We are so. Look around, right? We're in it. We're in it. We're close. Yeah, that's what they say. The Sabbath and appointed times. Amen, brother Pete. Yes. Yes. It's always been about appointed times and keeping the Sabbath. All the apostles did it. All their disciples did it. And they always taught us to do it. But they changed it. They changed the word. They changed the truth, right? Well, they didn't change the truth, but they hid it from us. And right now, He is calling His elect. That's why you were chosen out of the world and you was called, right? And you're set apart from the world. So you can see these things, right? And we're so close to the end of the age. That's why I think He's waking His people up and drawing them back. He's drawing you by your spirit back to the truth, to His truth. That's why we have to study this, and we have to seek His guidance. We have to seek His will. We have to learn how to keep His feast and keep His commandments. It's weird because the things I say, it feels like it's so simple to understand, but people don't understand it. It's like, why do I have to keep on saying the same thing? Nobody understands it. And I know you guys in the chat do, but because that's why you're here. And that's why nobody else comes. Like, there's nobody else, unless you're completely subscribed to this channel. That's the only way you come here. There's nobody else that pops in here randomly, or because I think we're completely like shadow banned, and it don't get out. It don't get circulated, We cannot even, I've had this channel for over 3 years now. We can't even get to 1,000 subscribers, everybody. I mean, come on. I know people who jump on I've seen channels where people jump on trampolines. Uh, I mean, I've seen just completely ridiculous things, channels on YouTube, and they have 100, 200,000 subs. But we can't even break 1,000 subscribers so I can go live on a phone. You have to have 1,000 subscribers to go live on a phone through your phone, and I can't even do it because nobody wants to hear this word. I mean, nobody wants to know the truth. That's a narrow path. That's a narrow path. So, anyways, let's go ahead and start reading Jubilees. Amen. I hope you guys enjoyed that little study there I showed you. Not many people know that, so you know, consider that to be a blessing, right? I mean, that's stuff that not many people will ever see. Hang on, it's gonna take me a second to get used to this. Okay. I think I know what happened. Let me know if there's any audio now. I think when I took that off the screen, that makes it with no audio. Let me know now. There should be audio. Seeking the Kingdom says he's back. Okay. Is there audio now? Okay, Crystal says we can hear you now. I don't know. So I must have to leave my face on here. Sorry, guys. This is the first time I've ever used this. So you have to leave. Okay, I understand it now. Give me 1 second. Let me know. That's the problem, Scott. That's what I was trying to do, is you can't enlarge it like that. Yeah, I know. I seen that. I seen that. Raptured. That's, come on, man. Come on. I don't know how anybody. Well, I know how you could fall for it, because these people who are under that illusion of a rapture and all that stuff it don't work like that, Scott. It doesn't work like that on this. It ain't like that on OBS you can, but not on this. Hang on. There's a way I done it a minute ago. I know I did. Hang on. Hang on. I should be able to, like, that's what I'm trying to do. Pete, explain that to Calvin right quick about what we just studied a while back about harpazo and being caught up or to be taken up. What it talks about in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, that is not talking about any type of being raptured to being taken to heaven. It's not what it's talking about. I know. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people fall for that because you've been taught that. That's not what that's saying, though. It's saying that we will meet our Messiah when he comes. Hang on. I don't know why it's breaking this so small like this. Hang on, let me try something. Hang on. Well, the whole plan is he's coming here to set up a kingdom. So why would we go to heaven if he's coming here? I mean, what are we going to do up there? It make no sense. He created us to be in the earth, and that's why he's making a new earth. I mean, cleansing the earth and cleansing the heaven. It says it makes a new heaven, new earth for the ultimate goal of eternal life here on earth. He comes here with us and the Father, and New Jerusalem descends. So why would we ever leave here if that's not the purpose? Guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know why I can't. There we go. Finally. I knew I had one a minute ago that was working. Yeah, there you go, Grace. Amen. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. You're right, Pete. I mean, I'm sorry, Calvin. I've 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 went into that a lot in detail, and I've got plenty of videos on that subject. If you want to go back and watch them, Calvin. I mean, what do you say? You believe it after the rap? You believe after the tribulation or before the tribulation? Which, I mean, neither one of them's accurate, but there's literally anything that talks about in there that means rapture. Nothing. To go to be taken to heaven. It's not there. He sets up a kingdom here. Remember? That's the whole point. And there's literally passages where it talks about he protects us through the tribulation. He protects us through. That's why we have to have the mark of Yah. He says he protects those with the mark of Yah. Those who have the mark of the beast, it's going to be a bad day for them. What is the mark of the beast? We just talked about that in the beginning of this live stream. I mean, it's being in the beast system, worshiping the image of the beast. What is the beast? We're living in the beast system. We're not of the beast system, but we're living in it. It's the nations, right? It's Babylon. Satan has always worked through the government, the leader, right? The kings. That's how he works. It's why he offered our Messiah in the desert when he fasted for 40 days, the whole world, right? He said, I'll give you the world. Yeah, you have to go check that out, Calvin. I mean, because that was first off what you believe in, and I'm not. Trust me, I'm not trying to pick on you whatsoever. I love you, brother. Is man-made taught. That's man-taught doctrine. It's Darbyism. That was literally taught by John Nelson Darby, which actually he learned it from somebody else, an Irish man, but John Nelson Darby really blew it up. Yeah, I understand that, about why it's being cleansed and stuff like that. But see, we have a false ideology about like the world exploding or something, and then us getting a completely new world. That's not what he's talking about. We have been so deceived by false translation. We're trying to understand, the Greek and Hebrew with the English mindset, and it doesn't work. And plus, not only that, but they literally changed it and deceived us on purpose. So he never says ever that he's going to completely blow the earth up or heaven. He says he's going to cleanse it. He's going to cleanse the earth. He created the earth in 6 days and everything in it. He never said he's going to destroy the whole earth. He said he's going to cleanse the earth. So he will protect us from that. if you read Second Baruch, if you read the Apocalypse of Baruch, which you can go back on this channel. Actually, we've read it. It literally talks about us eating manna from heaven and Him protecting us from the things that's coming on the earth, and all those, what the Scripture talks about is the resurrection. A lot of people mistake the rapture when it's talking about the resurrection. Anyways, I haven't read a single verse of Jubilee. Let me please start reading Jubilees. Okay. Now I have to leave my camera up. For some reason, the volume goes off. I don't know why. I think I do know why, actually, because when I actually just leave the screen share up, it's trying to have the audio of the other screen on it. So I got to leave the audio of this screen on here also. So that's actually pretty cool. It's taking me a while to get used to this. So Jubilees chapter 6 is where we're going to start. And on the head of the month, the new moon, as it says, of the third month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain, and he made atonement for the earth. Now, this is very important, as we talked about last time we studied this, is because this is the very first Shavuot, the very first covenant. From here on out, we see this is why there's a renewal of the covenant every year. Wow, that's why we keep Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, or what they call Pentecost. Shavuot, very, very important. And he made atonement for the earth. We're talking about Noah here after he got off the ark. And took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for everything that had been on it had been destroyed. Why did it get destroyed? Because the fallen angels, which was the watchers, who rebelled against the Most High, and then all the people on the earth, their minds was continually wicked, and that's why he destroyed the world with the water. So let's keep going. Those that were in the ark with Noah, and the only place you see that is in, obviously you see a portion of it in Genesis, but you see it in great detail in Jubilees. And that's why they removed it from us, right? They did not canonize this. We have to realize that evil men are the one who canonized the Bible, the Catholic Church. Those that were in the ark with Noah, and he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox and a goat and a sheep and kids and salt and a turtle dove and the young of a dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar and poured. Now look, guys, listen to this. Listen to this very closely, what I'm about to say right here. I was thinking about this in great detail the other night while I was just thinking by myself. Now listen to this. Let me know what you think about this, please. So he says he took the turtle dove and the young of a dove. We're talking about the atonement, right? For sin. Talking about Shavuot, the very first Shavuot, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise. So he caused a good smell to arise, acceptable before Yahuwah. And Yahuwah smelt the goodly savor. So he smelled the good smell, right? The savor. And he said it was a goodly savor. He said it was acceptable. And the flavor, it arised, and he smelled it, and it was acceptable to him. Guys, we see that, remember in Leviticus we read that you had to be clean to be in his presence. And he has an esteem. And if you're not clean in that presence, then you will explode. You will die. You can't be in that presence when they was in the temple, remember? So what kind of idea do you get from that? Let me know what you guys think. Because, a lot of people believe that Elohim is they have this idea of he's like some kind of man, like living on a cloud. That's not the idea that we get from Scripture, right? It says that, look at Noah did here. He made this sacrifice, this atonement, and it put up a sweet smelling savor to him. And he was in esteem, like he had this presence, this glory. And it was so powerful, right? We can't fathom the what the Most High is, right? A lot of people mistake Yahusha to be Yahuwah and Yahuwah to be Yahusha, right? But we get that all mixed up in our head, right? There's a Most High, this presence who created everything by His word. He spoke it. Just let me know what you guys think about that. And I want everybody to think about that if you can, and just let me know. So, anyways, let's keep going. And He made a covenant with him. So we see He made a covenant with him that there should be not any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest should never cease. Cold and heat, in summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And you increase you and multiply on the earth and become many upon it, and a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on the earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given unto you all the beasts and winged things and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all things for food, as the green herbs. I have given you all things to eat, but flesh, with the life thereof, with the blood you shall not eat. For the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required at the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast will I require the blood of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. So let's read that again. For the image of Elohim made the man, he man. And you increase and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yahuwah Elohim forever throughout all the generations of the earth in this month. Notice how it says in this month. That's why it's so important to understand that about Shavuot and this covenant and the true calendar. On this account, he spoke to thee that thou should make a covenant with the children of Israel, Yasharel, in this month upon the mountain with an oath, and that thou shouldst sprinkle blood upon them because of all the words of the covenant, which Yahuwah made with them forever. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually. So he says, it's written concerning you. This testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of beast or birds or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of beasts or of cattle or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. And do thou command the children of Israel to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yahuwah or Elohim continually. And for this law, there is no limit of days. He said, so for this law, there's no limit. It doesn't end, doesn't change, for it is forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar. Every day at the time of morning and evening, they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahuwah, that they may keep it. Now, I want everybody to think about something also. That we see that this atonement, right? These offerings, these sacrifices, right? These offerings, and this, how it's a goodly savor, acceptable before Yahuwah. Never Hebrews or any other point. There's a false ideology that goes around, a false doctrine that's being taught. It's always been taught in Christianity that that Yahuwah completely done away with the offerings, and He did atone for our sin. I'm not saying He didn't, and that's why we're not sacrificing animals for sin offerings, because He did. He atoned once and for all. But at no point does it ever say that it will never happen again. It doesn't say that. Hebrews never says that. Where everybody gets that from, right? That's where they get that idea from. That there'll never be a sacrifice again. It doesn't say that. By the way, it says that he came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And then it says in Hebrews that, Revelation, that the nations would be deceived again by Satan in the millennium, at the end of the millennium, right? Think about that. Anyways, just a little thought for you. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign that there should not again be a flood on the earth. He set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason, it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks. Notice how this rainbow is a covenant. So Christianity says this, it's in the Old Testament. It's all done away. We're under a new covenant now. If that's true, so that means the rainbow, this sign of this covenant, the Shavuot, is done away with. So that means that his idea, his covenant, his promise about the rainbow, which means he'll never flood the world again, that means that's done away with. Do you see how ignorant these people are? That teach this, and which is completely always for their agenda, obviously, and it's sad for the people that teach it just ignorantly. I'm not trying to be mean here neither. I'm just saying, think about it. Yes, exactly, Scott. There you go. That's exactly what I was talking about, Pete. Yeah. Yeah, PM's is saying exactly what I was just trying to talk about. So, for this reason, it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. So it's written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks, which is called Shavuot, in this month once a year. Remember, this is talking about the rainbow and this atonement that first Noah was the first one to do. So he said that it's written on the heavenly tablets that we should celebrate this feast in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the days of Noah. So they kept Shavuot in heaven, everybody. Think about that. Till the days of Noah, 26 Jubilees and 5 weeks of years. This is why this book's so important, guys, because it gives us the dates and everything. It gives us so much more detail. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 Jubilees and 1 week of years till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham. So Noah's son, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, done away with it. Everybody, Shavuot, they done away with it until the days of Abraham. And they ate blood, which they was told not to eat the blood. But Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob and his children observed it unto thy days. And in the days, the children of Israel forgot it until you celebrated it anew on this mountain. And do thou command the children of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations for a commandment unto them. 1 day in the year, in this month, they shall celebrate the festival. For it is the Feast of Weeks, which is called Shavuot. One more time. The Feast of Weeks and the Feast of First Fruits, right? What we're taught to keep. These are the 7 annual feasts. This feast is twofold and of a double nature. It says it's twofold and of a double nature. So we're learning about the feast here. Very important. This is our commandments, everybody. This is the Torah. According to what is written and engraven concerning it, celebrate it. According to what it is written and engraven concerning it, celebrate it. For I have written in the book of the first law. Look what it says right here. I have written in the book of the first law, in that which I have written for thee, that thou shouldst celebrate it in its season. one day in the year, and I explained to thee its sacrifices, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, one day in every year. That's why we keep Shavuot, everybody. And also believing that's when Messiah will return on Shavuot. Of course, there's different beliefs about that, but I don't know. And on the head of the month, on the new moon of the first month, and on the head of the month, the new moon, that's what that means, of the fourth month, I'm not talking about the pagan Gregorian calendar here, I'm talking about the fourth month, and on the head of the month of the seventh month, and on the head of the month of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, are the days of remembrance. And the days of the seasons and the 4 divisions of the year. Notice how it says the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feast for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the head of the month of the first month is Aviv, right? Which we know is on the Gregorian calendar, the fourth month. The fourth month. He was bidden to make for himself an ark, and on that day the earth became dry, and he opened the ark, and he saw the earth. And on the head of the month of the fourth month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the head of the month of the seventh month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were open, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the head of the moon, on the head of the month of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. On this account he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever. And thus are they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks. So look how they call this the Mosaic law, guys, but they was doing it before Moses, right? He said it was ordained on the heavenly tablets before Moses. So let's keep going. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another past their memorial, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth in all. The days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year, or from year to year. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year. This is what we know as a complete year is 364 days. Goes right along with Enoch also, everybody. This goes right along with Enoch. And what people call the Enoch calendar. This goes right along with it. So, and they will not disturb its times from its days and from its feasts. From everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will disturb the seasons and the years. Now listen, everybody, this is what happened. It's telling us right here exactly what happened. So it says, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out of them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb, because they lost track of it, everybody. They lost track of the times. And they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Israel will forget, and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the head of the months, the new moons, right? And seasons and Sabbaths. And they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. That's exactly what happened. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, and it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles. Let us not do that, everybody. Let us not walk the feast of the Gentiles, like Christmas and Easter and Halloween and Valentine's Day, and it goes on and on and on. It's all pagan. Let us keep the holy feast, the Sabbath. So he says, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles after their error and after their ignorance. After their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon. Listen what he says. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons. Now, I'm not trying to bring this up to like say anything, or to like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, or how to say it. Like me and, okay, I love, we always, had Brother Chris come on, who just recently passed away, which we will see again, amen, in the millennium. I have no doubt of that. In the age to come, Brother Chris Rock, Narrow Path. And see, he always thought that it was talking about, how we're supposed to observe the moon for the Sabbath. And we tried to show him several different times that, that this is the calendar, that lies with Enoch, the scriptural calendar, right? We're about to do a study on this. I know a lot of people probably don't know what I'm talking about, but it says, look, the Gentiles will go assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons. And remember we read earlier, it talks about how we're supposed to, the sun gives us the calendar. I'm not talking about worshiping the sun or nothing like that. I'm talking about days and months and years. I'm talking about the scriptural calendar. How it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. See? It's giving us a setup here for the calendar. We don't follow the moon for the calendar. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, and an unclean day, a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to thee, that thou may testify to them, for after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only, and for this reason they will go wrong as to the head of the months and seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. And in the 7th week, in the 1st year, 1317, thereof, in this Jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Labar, one of the Ararat mountains, and they produced fruit in the 4th year, 1320. And he guarded their, I love how it's got the year also. I love that. That's so helpful. And he guarded their fruit and gathered it in this year in the 7th month. And he made wine therefrom and put it into a vessel and kept it until the 5th year, 1321, until the 1st day on the head of the month of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this feast. And he made a burnt sacrifice unto Yahuwah, 1 young ox and 1 ram and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of the goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the kid first, and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar which he had made, and all the fat he laid on the altar where he made the burnt sacrifice, and on the ox and the ram and the sheep, and he laid all their flesh upon the altar, and he placed all their offerings mingled with oil upon it. And afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire which he had previously made on the altar, and he placed incense on the altar, and caused a sweet savor to ascend, acceptable before Yahuwah his Elohim, our Elohim, I mean. And he rejoiced and drank of this wine, he and his children with joy. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunken, he lay down and slept. And he was uncovered in his tent, and as he slept. Now listen to what he says right here. There's so many false things that I've heard about this right here. He and his children with joy, and it was evening. We're talking about Noah here. And he went into his tent, and being drunk, and he lay down and slept, and it was uncovered in his tent as he slept. So he was naked, right? He was uncovered. And Ham saw Noah his father naked, and went forth and told his two brethren without. And Shem took his garment and arose, and he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulders and went backward and covered the shame of their father. So it never said at any point there was. I've even heard people say that they believe Noah had sex with somebody right here. And it's so ridiculous. You know, talking about serpent seed and all kinds of different crap. It's not what this is talking about. It's talking about Noah. He said he drank wine at this atonement, right? He atoned. He made a sacrifice. I mean, an offering. I'm sorry, it was an offering, and he drank wine, and he was slept naked, right? Just like David, he was naked in the streets dancing. But he says that Japheth and they placed the garment on their shoulders and went backward. They never looked on their father's shame, never, but they covered his shame, right? His nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward. See? And Noah awoke from his sleep and knew all that his younger son had done unto him. And he cursed his son and said, Cursed be Canaan, and enslaved servant shall he be unto his brethren. And he blessed Shem and said, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Elohim shall enlarge Japheth, and Elohim shall dwell in the dwelling of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son, and he parted from his father, he and his sons with him, Cush and Mizraim, and put in Canaan. And he built for himself a city and called its name after the name of his wife, Nael Tamoic. Sorry, guys, I tried my best right there. And Japheth saw it and became envious of his brother, and he too built for himself a city. And he called its name after the name of his wife, Adat Anaesis. Cannot say that. I apologize. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain, and he too called its name after the name of his wife, Sedek Etel Abab. Sedek Etel Abab. Cannot say that whatsoever hardly. And behold, these three cities are near Mount Labar, this is where the ark landed, right? Mount Ararat, something like that. Sedek Etel Abab, fronting the mountain on its east, and Nael on the south, and Adat, I cannot say that, these wives anyway, toward the west. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam and Ashur, Arpachshad. I've always had trouble saying that one. This son was, and you can look this up on this calendar behind me also, guys. On this timeline behind me, it's all there. This genealogy. So this matches, right? And you can back this up, right? We're supposed to compare this. Where do you compare it to? You can compare it with the Samaritan Torah. You can compare it with the Genesis account, right? This son was born 2 years after the flood, and Lud and Aram, the sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Madai and Yavan, Tubal and Meshech and Tyrez. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee, which is 1324 to 1372, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons the ordinances and commandments, and all the judgments that he knew, and he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness. Amen. Which is the ordinances and commandments. It always has been since the beginning. Righteousness, observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their souls. Why is he talking about the law, right? As we know later on that Moses gave us, because it was always the Father's law, instruction. He just had not given on Mount Sinai yet to Moses to give to the people for it was actually a renewed covenant again, I believe. I mean, it was another renewed covenant. They renewed the covenant again. And we see in Deuteronomy that they renewed the covenant again, right? And that's why we have what we call the New Testament. It's a renewed covenant that we follow Yahusha, amen, our high priest. Just like we had high priests back then, we have a high priest now, and it's better. It's a better. That's why it's in Hebrews. It's called it says better testament. What it means is it's a better covenant. Like it's better promises. Meaning like we're promised eternal life in a glorified body. I just hope people see that and understand what I'm saying here. That it's always been. There's nothing different, but better. So here we go. From fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. What is iniquity? There's that word iniquity. Lawlessness, right? Depart from me, you worker of iniquity. Matthew 7:23 says. Just like it says right here, which is lawlessness. For owing to these three things came the flood upon the earth. He said the flood come upon the earth because of iniquity, uncleanness, and fornication. Think about that, everybody. Namely, owing to the fornication wherein the watchers, the fallen angels, against the law of their ordinances went a whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all which they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanness, and they begat sons of Nephilim. We're talking about Nephilim here, and they were all unlike, and they devoured one another, and the giants slew the Nephilim, and I'm not 100% sure exactly. Giants slew the Nephil, and the Nephil slew the Elgo, and the Elgo mankind and one another. So these different breeds, right, that come down from the fallen angels. And every one sold himself to work iniquity and to shed much blood. And the earth was filled with iniquity, which is lawlessness. The Father created this world to have instruction, and he wants us to follow them. You don't want a bunch of chaos and lawlessness. Come on, think about it. And after this, they sinned against the beasts and birds and all that moves and walks on the earth. And much blood was shed on the earth. And every imagination and desire of men imagine vanity and evil continually. And Yahuwah destroyed everything from off the face of the earth because of the wickedness of their deeds and because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth. Amen. There you go, everybody. What Pete just said. If you want to see who these different breeds of giants are, they're in Enoch chapter 7. And it goes right along, guys, with Enoch also. That's how we use criticism. That's what we're talking about in almost every single stream. We're comparing scripture to make sure it all lines up. That's how we know it's not contradicting. That's how we know it's led. Because if men wrote it, then we'd know it'd be. If this come from men, then come on, man. I mean, we would see that fast. So here we go. He destroyed everything, and we were left, I and you and my sons, and everything that entered with us into the ark. And behold, I see your works before me, that you do not walk in righteousness. For in the path of destruction you have begun to walk, and you are parting one from another, and are envious of one another. And so it comes that you are not in harmony, my sons, each with his brother. That's how he wants us to be. See what it just said? You are not walking in righteousness. You are not in harmony with one another. For I see and behold the demons, the evil spirits have begun their seductions against you and against your children. And now I have fear on your behalf that after my death you will shed the blood of men upon the earth, and that you too will be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoso sheddeth man's blood, and whoso eateth the blood of any flesh shall be destroyed from the face of the earth. And there shall not be left any man that eateth blood, or that sheddeth the blood of man on the earth, nor shall there be left to him any seed or descendants living under heaven. For into Sheol, right? Sheol, as the King James translate as hell, not talking about the lake of fire here, talking about Sheol. For into Sheol shall they go, and into the place of condemnation shall they descend. And into the darkness of the deep shall they all be removed by a violent death. There shall be no blood seen upon you of all the blood there shall be all the days in which you have killed any beast or cattle or whatever flies upon the earth, and work you a good work to your souls, your spirit, by covering that which has been shed on the face of the earth. And you shall not be like him who sits with blood, eats with blood, but guard yourselves that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus I have been commanded to testify to you and to your children, together with all flesh, and suffer not the soul to be eaten with the flesh, that your blood, which is your life, like you just said earlier, the life is in the blood, just like Yahusha said, may not be required at the hand of any flesh that sheds it on the earth. For the earth will not be clean from the blood which has been shed upon it. For only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. And now, my children, hearken, work judgment and righteousness, that you may be planted in righteousness over the face of the whole earth, and your glory, which is your esteem lifted up before my Elohim, who saved me from the waters of the flood. And behold, you will go and build for yourself cities, and plant in them all the plants that are upon the earth, and moreover, all fruit-bearing trees. For 3 years the fruit of everything that is eaten will not be gathered, and in the fourth year its fruit will be accounted holy, and they will offer the first fruits acceptable before the Most High Elohim, who created the heaven and earth and all things. Let them offer in abundance the first of the wine and oil. Notice how it said the first of the wine and the oil. And that's a whole nother topic that we have to talk about later. And I know you know what I'm talking about, Pete. First fruits on the altar of Yahuwah, who receives it, and what is left, the servants of the house of Yahuwah eat before the altar which receives it. And in the 5th year make you the release, so that you release it in righteousness and uprightness, and you shall be righteous. And all that you plant shall prosper. For thus did Enoch, the father of your father, command Methuselah, his son, and Methuselah his son Lamech, and Lamech commanded me all the things which his fathers commanded him. And I also will give you commandment, my sons, as Enoch commanded his son in this first Jubilees, while still living, the seventh in his generation, he commanded and testified to his son and to his son's sons until the days of his death. Talking about Enoch, the scribe of righteousness here. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, 1373, in the beginning thereof, Arpachshad took to himself a wife, and her name was Rasuijah. That's what we're going to say, right? Rasuijah. That's the only way I can pronounce that. The daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam, and she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, 1375. And we're talking about the beginning of these things, right? We learned about Adam and Eve. We learned about creation. And we're talking about what it looks like in the very 1st century. I'm not talking about 1st century Common Era. I'm talking about 1st century of the world, before Yahusha come into flesh. And he called his name Canaan. Cannot say these words. Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. Now, actually, guys, yeah, that's where I'm going to leave off at, right there in chapter 8. That way we don't get ahead of ourselves because we've been all over the place tonight. We really have. We've been all over the place tonight. We've covered a lot of stuff in this one, and I have to go change the title. That way everybody knows this is just not a test because we've been going for an hour and 30 minutes just talking. I want to try something. Yeah, I thought that would work. See, I can actually post comments on the chat on the screen now, so that's awesome. I like that. Brother Floyd, Molly. Thank you, Sister Molly, for being here. I hope tonight's study made sense to everybody because I know we was all over the place and we talked about a bunch of different things. I mean, indeed it was, Sister Grace. It really was. I know he's all over the place. These are things I just wanted to give everybody a glimpse of things that I think of all the time. And a few others in the chat I know think of. But this is what kind of stuff that I deal with on a daily basis and think about and try to study. And I'm curious. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love you too, Brother Floyd. You guys, try to show this to somebody. And I'm also glad that we found this StreamYard and I finally used it, and I'm glad I did. Thanks, Grace. Heather, I'm sorry. Grace too. All of you guys. You know I love you. I'm very glad. Oh man, yes, Pete. I'm glad that we use this. StreamYard tonight. Thank you. Of course. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to thank me. I love doing this. Right. I really do. I enjoy studying the word. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing. I mean, I want to know how the world got here, and I want to know more and the most I possibly can about our Creator. So, Judith, chapter 11, in 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, who reigned in Nineveh, the great city, in the days of Arpachshad, which reigned over Medes. And yeah. Guys, I will see you tomorrow. Shalom, everybody. Have a good night.